So in the third canto, because Sarga means creation and the primary creation. So in the initial part of the third canto, we find the description of various Purusha avatars, the conversation between Uddhavji and Vidurji, that it starts with that. And then there Vidurji is asking Uddhavji the pastimes of Shri Krishna and how he dropped the body. And Uddhavji has then directed Vidurji to go to Maitreya Rishi, because Bhagavan had told Maitreya Rishi to give this knowledge to Uddhavji when he comes. So Maitreya Rishi, Uddhavji directs Vidurji to go to Maitreya Rishi. Vidurji goes to Maitreya Rishi and he asks him about various Purusha avatars, then the Virat Roop, the Leela avatar, different planets and jivas, etc. A list of questions is what he asks in the beginning to Maitreya Rishi. So there he has asked him about how can the Lord get connected to the gunas. He is immutable, and then how is he connected to the gunas, and how does the Lord become as though ignorant. Some Vedantic questions also he asked. And how does the jiva suffer? Why does the jiva suffer when the Lord is in one's own heart? Some of these questions were asked by Vidurji, and Maitreya Rishi answered also some of these questions. And then he asked about the various aspects of Varnashrama Dharma also. So we saw the duties of the 4 stages of life also. Then we saw about time, right from the smallest unit of time to the biggest unit of time, how in the Indian culture we have the time, right from Paramanu onwards, it goes up to the Kalpa and even beyond that. Then in that context, it was also said Brahmaji did the Srishti with 5 types of ignorance, then the 4 Sanat Kumars, Rudra, then Swayambhu Manu, Shatrupa. So the creation part, basic creation part was covered already in 2nd chapter. In this chapter also some part of it comes. And then Brahmaji speaking, creating up to Swayambhu Manu was covered. Now Swayambhu Manu, what are his activities? Vidurji asked about Swayambhu Manu and his activities. So it was said that Brahmaji created Manu, and this Manu was told to bring forth the creation. But Manu said where to bring forth the creation? The earth is not there, earth is drowned. So in that context, we saw the Varaha avatar. And the description here is Varaha avatar is of 2 different kalpas. So one is Shweta Varaha and another is the Neela Varaha. 2 different kalpas. And that whole portion about how Bhagavan kills Hiranyaksha, that was covered. So that is where we had stopped in the 3rd canto at chapter 19, discourse 19. And that ended by saying that whoever studies this most sacred portion, this would confer extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and help the person to fulfill all their desires. It will also promote on the battlefield strength, and who listen to this at the last moment of their life, they find refuge in Bhagavan Narayan. So that is where the 19th chapter had ended. Now we continue from there in the 20th chapter, 20th discourse here. So since this is about Sarga, the creation, so when Brahmaji has created those initial beings, Sanat Kumars and 5 types of Avidya and the Rudras and the 10 sons of, all these are Manasa Putras of Brahmaji. Further, this question is again asked by Vidurji, the question about Sarga and Visarga. So here, once the episode of Varaha Avatar is over, we again go back to Naimisharanya, the discourse that is happening between Sutaji, discussion that is happening between Sutaji, Shaunakji and those 60,000 rishis. So that's where this chapter 20 begins. Kshatta Mahabhagavatah Krishnasya Ekantika Suhrit Yastat Tyajagrajam Krishne Sapatyamaghavaniti. So now it is said that Vidurji, who is a Mahabhagavata, he is a great devotee of Lord Krishna and also a friend of Krishna. Krishnasya Ekantika Suhrit. So word Suhrit actually means one who does good even when the other person has not done good to us. Mitra will return goodness for goodness. Suhrit will be good even if there has been no specific goodness from the opposite side. And here he says Suhrit, it's a term to indicate the well-wisher. So Vidurji is called as a Suhrit of Krishna Bhagwan. Of course, Bhagwan only does everything good to us, but the word Suhrit also means one who is deep well-wisher. So Vidurji is called Suhrit, Krishna Saikantika Suhrit. And what did he do when Bhagwan was insulted and they tried to capture the Lord when he came to Hastinapur as a Shantidut? And then we also saw that how Vidurji was kicked out. Kicked out meaning how Vidurji was insulted, and so Vidurji left that place because the elder brother Dhritarashtra was not willing to listen to any counsel of Vidurji. In fact, he was siding his son. So Vidurji left him. Not because he was offended, but because actually they insulted Bhagwan himself. And so these are some qualities of Vidurji which are given here in the beginning, because they had offended Shri Krishna. And Vidurji is born through Vedavyasa Rishi. Not only is he born through Vedavyasa Rishi, he is equal to Vedavyasa Rishi, is what is said here. Dvaipayanad anavaro mahitve tasya dehajaha sarvatmana shrita krishnam tatparam chapya nuvrataha. So not only is he born to Vedavyasa Rishi, but he is in no way inferior, meaning he is equal to Vedavyasa Rishi in glory, because he is also, we saw earlier, avatar of Dharmaraj. And he was devoted to Shri Krishna and all the devotees also. Kimanva prichan maitreyam virajas tirtha sevaya upagamya kushavarta asinam tattvavittamam. So, having gone to a Tirtha Yatra, having cleansed himself, when he reached Haridwar, that is another name for Haridwar is Kushavarta, he met Maitreya Rishi there. So having met him there, what else did he inquire? Shaunak Rishi is asking Sutaji that what else did he inquire? And in their course of conversation, they definitely would have discussed some glories of Bhagwan, of Shri Hari. So what are those stories? please tell us about those stories because they are capable of wiping away all our sins. How Mother Ganga purifies us, in the same way Hari Katha also purifies. And hence, he says, please tell us all those stories because they are the only achievements which are worth glorifying. The glories of the Lord, achievements of the Lord are worth glorifying. And who would be somebody who would be feeling satisfied upon hearing the glories, meaning one wants to listen to more and more the glories of the Lord. Tana kirtaya bhadramte kirtananyodara karmanaha kirtanyodara karmanaha rasajna konu tripyeta hari leelamritam piban, meaning the one will not be satisfied. It's very interesting. In the world, the sense enjoyments that we enjoy also don't give us tripti. So they leave craving. More and more one wants of the sense enjoyments, either the same thing or something else. Here it is said, even after listening to glories of Hari, the person doesn't have tripti. So someone says, oh, then what is the point? Might as well have a tripti for the samsaric vishaya, because at least there is something tangible I can enjoy. Here there is, you are going on listening to Katha of Bhagwan. Here devotee also doesn't have any tripti listening to Katha of Bhagwan. So what is the difference? The point is very simple. The Katha of Bhagwan destroys the avidya and helps us to experience oneness with the Supreme. And one then wants to go on reveling in that state. So it is the expression of that. It's not that the devotee doesn't have any tripti. Because how much ever we glorify Bhagwan, it is not enough. Because Bhagwan is infinite. And his Katha also and his Leelas also are infinite. Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. So infinite Lord's glories, how much ever one hears as a individual, as a bhakta, there is no tripti, meaning one wants to hear more and more, not out of craving like we want to enjoy sense objects, out of the feeling of love and oneness. In the world, the craving leads us to the cycle of birth and death. The more craving one has, we know the cycle, the vasana pressure is there, and those vasanas will create desires for which we need bodies. So the worldly craving will create more bondage and trap in the cycle of birth and death. Here when it is said that na tripyeta hari leelamritam piban, the bhakta is not satisfied by listening to the glories of the Lord, means infinite glories of Bhagavan. The bhakta wants to listen more and more, even after realizing oneness with Bhagavan. Somebody asked, I must have said earlier, I don't remember, somebody asked a Mahatma Ji, who is a realized master, that we are sadhaks and we are reading and studying the Upanishads, because we want to do sadhana and we have to still realize that state. Why are you reading Upanishads? He's saying they are talking of my glory. I want to see what are they talking of my glory. There the my doesn't mean the small I, the jiva. There my means Brahman. So in the same way, even a bhakta who is one with Bhagavan would want to listen more about the glories of Bhagavan. Because specifically as avatar, when Bhagavan has taken an avatar, then that is a very unique aspect. It doesn't happen very often because Bhagavan is infinite, unmanifest. Specifically when Bhagavan takes avatar, then all the more one wants to listen. So he says the devotee doesn't feel content just listening to the Katha of Bhagavan. The devotee wants to know more and more. Meaning we all are those devotees. So please tell us what was the conversation between Vidurji and Maitreya Rishi. After that, Varaha avatar episode got over. So now Sutaji continues from there. So he says that Vidurji was very delighted. Hare, this tune is different. Hare Dhrita Krodatano Swamayaya Nishamya Gorudharanam Rasatalat Leelam Hiranyakshamabagnaya Hatam Sanjata Harsho Muni Mahabharataha. So Vidurji was very delighted to hear the story of Bhagwan's avatar as the Varaha and how Bhagwan lifted the earth and restored the Prithvi to its proper position, and how he killed the demon Hiranyaksha. So Vidurji was very delighted. Then what happened? So now Vidurji is asking the questions. So we come from there. Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Pati Srishtva Prajasarge Prajapatin Kimarabhata me Brahman Prabruhya Vyakta Margavita. He says, you know the things which are not perceptible to us, O Maitreya Rishi. So what did Brahmaji, who is the Lord of all the Prajapatis, what did Brahmaji do after evolving the Prajapatis, meaning Manu, Shatrupa, and the other Manasaputras, all those which he created? After that, what did he do to evolve? So we are talking about Sarga now, creation, and further it will come as Visarga also. So what did Brahmaji do? How did he take forward this creation? And then how did those people whom he created take forward the creation? So Marichi, etc., those 10 Manasaputras who were born. So he says, how did the sage Marichi and other Brahmanas as well as Swayambhu Manu evolve the creation in obedience to Brahmaji's command? Now his question has 3 parts. The next question has 3 parts. That did they individually create different things, or did the couple together like Manu and Shatrupa come together to procreate and create the whole, take forward the creation further, or all of them jointly, 10 Manasaputras and then Manu, Shatrupa, Sanat Kumar, so many of them were created by Brahmaji. Did all of them jointly do the creation? So what happened? Now in this particular chapter, we find that a little bit of summary is given about the creation, the Srishti from before Brahmaji, from Narayan Bhagwan onwards, then before Brahmaji, the Srishti that happened, and then how Brahmaji was created. That which was covered earlier also in the 2nd canto. Again, it came in the 3rd canto in some portion earlier. That is again described here. And then it is taken forward again in terms of Brahmaji only. What Manu, Shatrupa, etc. did will come further after this. So he doesn't directly answer about how did sage Marichi and all of them create, because the first question is about Brahmaji. That after creating those Manasaputras, etc., then what did Brahmaji do? So now if somebody has forgotten because of Varaha Avatar, the whole prasang which came, somebody would have forgotten that, Are Brahmaji, did he create all this? So then like a recap, it comes here. So we have seen this earlier, so I'm going to go quickly, not going shlok by shlok on this. So we saw earlier that the gunas are in the Samya Avastha, and then the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, when they are in the Samya Avastha, they get disturbed. Then only the creation comes forth. So sometimes it is said it is the will of the Lord that disturbs. Sometimes it is said it is the karmas of the jiva. So here it is the karmas of the jiva which disturb the Samya Avastha. And so then what happens? the prarabdha of the jivas, what it is, that what type of srishti they need, accordingly the srishti has to be created. So the prarabdha of the jiva, as it requires, that type of srishti will come forth. That also to say that the srishti doesn't happen just, in a random way by the will of Brahmaji. It happens because the jivas need certain types of environments, and Brahmaji is the one who is responsible to create these. So the base is that the prarabdha of the jivas is the base. Now the Supreme Lord Narayana, or the Supreme Spirit presiding over the Prakriti and Kala, the Mahat Tattva is evolved from this, the Asamya Avastha. Mahat Tattva gets evolved, from there the Ahankara comes, which is Rajoguna Pradhan, and then the principles of 5, they come into being. So 5 subtle elements, 5 gross elements, 5 senses of knowledge, 5 senses of action. Then the devatas for both sets of senses of knowledge and action. This is called principles of 5. All these get created in the subtle realm yet, and they all are by themselves inert, and so they are not able to bring forth life. The capabilities are all created. Devatas also got created. From Mahat, the main the Samashti Ahankar also comes, and then these 5, the principles of 5 also come, and they all remain like a golden egg for 1000 years, and then as though life enters, Bhagavan presides over it, life enters, and from the navel of that Supreme Lord, then Brahmaji comes out. From the navel of the Lord sprang a lotus that possessed the dazzling splendor of 1,000 suns, and that is intended to be the abode of all living beings. Brahmaji emanated from this lotus. Now Brahmaji is created. Then what happens? So Brahmaji starts further creation. So earlier it was already said what all he created through his mind. That is just summarized here by only mentioning the first aspect. See, he created 5 aspects of avidya that had come earlier, and then he created the Sanat Kumars, and then the Rudras, and then the 10 Manasa Putras, and then Swayambhu Manu and Shatrupa. That was said earlier. So the whole thing is not explained, just the first one is explained, that 5 aspects of ignorance are created. So what are those 5 aspects? Tamisra, Andha Tamisra, Tamas, Moha and Mahamoha. These were created. Now this portion which comes after this will appear a little strange to us, because it is said here that when Brahmaji created these 5 varieties of avidya, then he threw off that body, which is in the form of a shadow, and it made up darkness, ignorance. The Yakshas and Rakshasas who sprang forth from this darkness, they took that particular body and continued in the form of night, and is the source of hunger and thirst. Now when we say Brahmaji threw off that body, we think that it's like a physical body which is thrown off. This is not like a physical body. This is called Bhava Sharir. Bhava Sharir, even we all do that. So for example, if we say that right now we are in satsang, now we are listening, and our mind will come into a particular state. Then when satsang gets over, and then we have to, let us say, go into doing some housework, or going out to do some shopping or whatever it may be, then the bhav sharir created by satsang is replaced by the bhav required for the work, for the any other transaction I have to do or anybody I'm speaking to. Now this bhava sharira is gone, another one has come. Something similar. The bhava sharira of Brahmaji, when he created these 5 types of ignorance, he didn't like it and he left it. From there came Yaksha and Rakshasas, and they took hold of that sharir. And that Yaksha and Rakshasas, they made it their abode. And they said that this night becomes the source of hunger and thirst, because this is made up of ignorance and darkness. So it is a symbol of night, and they made it and it is a source of hunger and thirst. Now it is said that they are overpowered by hunger and thirst, these Yakshas and Rakshasas, and they run towards Brahmaji to eat him up. So it is said that overpowered by hunger and thirst, they ran to devour him from all sides. And Brahmaji said, they said that don't spare him, thinking that he's our father. Don't spare him. Those beings who said don't spare him are called Yakshas. And those beings who said out of compassion that he is our father, they are called Rakshasas. So Yaksha and Rakshasa, they are 2 different types of beings. Subtler beings, they are not like us who have gross body and human form. They have a subtler form. So they all went to Brahmaji wanting to eat him up because they are, hungry and thirsty. So Brahmaji pleaded with them and said, don't eat me, spare me. You are all born as sons to me and children to me. Some animals do that, some animals, they eat away their own young ones. And here he also says that one of the reasons is if Brahmaji, is destroyed, then further Srishti will not happen. So they will anyway perish after that. But if Brahmaji remains, further Srishti can happen and these people will survive. So that's a deeper reason. So in a poetic way, it is said here that Brahmaji said he grew nervous and he pleaded with them, don't eat me and all that. It's like small children, when suppose you are playing a game where the child becomes a tiger, and this child comes to you and he says, I'm going to eat you up. And then the father will say, no, don't eat me up. I'm very scared of you. I will do whatever you tell me. It's one game going on. It's not that Brahmaji got suddenly disturbed and then, he is scared of them and then they are wanting to eat him. The cause is always greater than the effect. Effect will never destroy the cause. That basic principle we should remember. So that otherwise we will get confused. Brahmaji also got scared and these people are wanting to eat him up. There's a different way of just depicting that. So that happened. So Yakshas and Rakshasas got created. So this is a different way to say that this creation came out from Brahmaji only. So when we say that the effect is nothing but cause in another form, this is personification. So in personification, all these things will happen. So different things, Brahmaji takes the bodies, meaning he thinks and those forms, his mind takes, and then he leaves those bodies and different beings come out from those bodies or take possession of those bodies. And that's how in creation there is variety of different emotions and positive and the negative and all those 3 gunas, etc. One will see the play. So now that's how Yaksha and Rakshasa got created. Then he created the Devatas. This is 22nd shloka. Devata prabhayaya divyan pramukhato srijat te ahashur devayanto visrishtam tam prabhamaha. So shining with glory, he created the divinities, which had the element of sattva guna. Because the first thing he created was that from tamo guna, and so see the one quality of tamas also is now veiling and ignorance. So those beings also, Yaksha and Rakshasa, as though they took hold of that darkness, so they also are behaving with such grossness in their thinking. So they try to go and as though eat Brahmaji. So Brahmaji next created out of Sattva Guna the Devatas, who have much more Sattva in them. And when Brahmaji dropped that body, which is Bhav of Sattva Guna, then what happened? From that effulgent form, now figured as daytime was born, and the Devatas took the daytime. Now, what does this mean? That's why I'm saying this is, Puranic literature to read, and sometimes one doesn't understand only what is the language and what are the implications of all this. So Devatas took hold of the daytime. And so if you see, the rites, rituals, etc. are done only between sunrise and sunset. They will not be done after that. Even Bhagwan will be put to sleep after that. Yajna, Yaga, Hom, Havan, etc. will all be done only between sunrise and sunset, because Devatas have to be invoked in that, and then the Ahutis have to be offered, and those Ahutis will go to the Devatas. And so when it is said here that the Devatas took hold of the daytime, and daytime is born from the splendor of Brahmaji, that is what it means, the symbolic meaning. Then Brahmaji evolved from the hinder parts the demons, who are excessively fond of women and full of lust. Now, these demons who got created, they ran towards Brahmaji only for copulation. And Brahmaji got very terrified again. So the worshipful Brahmaji first laughed at their stupidity, but these Asuras, the Asura is opposite of the Sura. So Sura is the Devatas. So the Devatas took the daytime, and they are Sattva Guna Pradhan, and they are also in charge of the phenomenal forces in the creation. Now the Asuras are born. Now the Asuras are born from the hinder part of Brahmaji, and then they run towards Brahmaji. So Brahmaji, in the beginning, he laughs, and then he saw that these Asuras are going, coming closer to him with this desire that they want to copulate with Brahmaji only. So he runs towards Bhagavan Vishnu, and he approaches Sri Hari. Sa upavrajya varadam prapannartiharam harim anugrahaya bhaktanam anurupatmadarshanam. So he takes the refuge of Bhagavan Hari, and he says that, "Oh Lord, you are the one who dispels the agony of those who take refuge in you. Please show some grace and please protect me. I created these beings because you have directed me, and now these beings are only wanting to, copulate with me. So now you are the one who has to end this affliction for me." Now Bhagwan, he obviously knows what is the distress of Brahmaji. So he says, "You drop this body," meaning this bhav that he has taken of lust, that bhav sharir you have to drop. You already created the Asuras, and they have this desire. So drop this form that your mind has taken, the subtle form of lust. Drop. And when Brahmaji did that, what happened? That form, here's a weird description. That form became twilight. Twilight is that combination of morning and evening. That twilight, evening twilight specifically, not the morning and not the pre-dawn and then the morning, not that. The evening twilight. So where the day and night meet, now that kindles passion. Remember that earlier how Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were born? When Kashyap Rishi told Diti that, you know, this is not the time, just give 1 hour. And this is the time when Shiv Ganas also, Shivji and his Ganas also are moving about in the Srishti. So this is a time for sadhana. Don't give in to lustful tendencies. But she didn't listen, and then this Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu were born. So that's the symbolism we have to connect. That this evening twilight brings this passion. Morning twilight also will bring passion. If a person doesn't get up in the Sandhya, in the Brahma Muhurat and, you know, do the sadhana, etc., the mind will create that passion even in the morning. So this twilight is Sandhikal, and our great masters have connected sadhanas to Sandhikal. So get up in the morning, do Gayatri Sandhya. That's why it's called Sandhya. Sandhya happens in the Sandhikal. So morning, evening, Dvikala Sandhya it is called. So morning, just at the time of sunrise, and then here in sunset time. So that time when is supposed to do sadhana. Otherwise, the lust will take hold. So these are symbolic meanings. So here now, so the strange description comes that this twilight appears to these asuras like a woman. So they have given this whole description of the twilight, and they say that these asuras, they looked at this twilight and they felt that the lotus feet resounded with the tinkling of anklets. Her eyes were wild with intoxication. Hips are covered with a fine cloth. You know, like that, a whole description is given. Shapely nose, beautiful rows of teeth, lovely smile, sportful glance at the asuras, and long dark tresses. She was hiding herself, as it were, out of shyness. Now, perceiving that girl, the twilight is personified as a girl. So the asuras were very infatuated with love. And they said, oh, what a beauty, what a rare self-control, what a budding youth. In the midst of us all who are passionately longing for her, she is moving about like one absolutely free from passion. So they were indulging in all these various types of speculations about the evening twilight that appeared to them as endowed with the form of a young woman. They treated her with respect, and they also fondly asked her, who are you? Whose daughter may you be, O pretty one? And what can be the object of you coming over here, O proud damsel? Why do you tantalize us, luckless as we are, with the priceless commodity of your beauty? Whosoever you may be, O tender girl, we are fortunate to have been able to see you. Now this girl is supposed to be playing with a ball also. So they are saying that while playing with a ball, you agitate the mind of onlookers. When you strike the bouncing ball against the ground with your hand again and again, your lotus feet stay not at one place. So in this way, these asuras, their understanding is clouded. Iti sayantanim sandhyam asura pramadayatim pralobhayantim jagruhur matva mudhadhiya striyam. 37th shloka. So now this way it is asuras, their understanding was clouded, and they took the evening twilight, which showed itself as though in the form of a young woman, for an alluring damsel, and they seized her. So devatas were created, asuras were created, each one took their own abode. So these are also symbolic, that what we should do, at what time, when we should refrain from certain things. Those are indications for a person. Now Brahmaji, from his so here it is said that with a laugh full of deep significance, Brahmaji evolved by his own loveliness, which seemed to enjoy itself by itself, host of Gandharvas. Gandharvas are the celestial musicians, and Apsaras, the dancing girls. And he gave up that particular body also, the Bhava Sharir, made of moonlight. So Vishwavasu and Gandharvas, they took the possession of that particular body, because that dance, music, romance, many of those things are connected to the moonlight. And we have been studying Prashnopanishad. There also we saw how, if at all one has to indulge in sense pleasure, or one has to enjoy carnal pleasure, it has to be at night. It should not be in the daytime. Upanishad itself says that in the daytime one is dissipating one's energy, and one is called mudha, deluded. If at all one has to engage, it has to be in the night. And so here it is, the moonlight and the music and the dance and the romance, all this gets connected. So Brahmaji created that. Then out of his sloth, out of his tamoguna, out of his laziness, actually, not tamoguna in that sense, Srishtva Bhuta Pishachanscha Bhagavan Atma Tandrina. Tandra means that laziness. Tandra is laziness, sloth, lethargy. Nidra is sleep. So Tandra is the laziness part. From there he created Bhuta Pishacha. Digvasaso Mukta Keshan Viksha Chami Layad Drishau. Now please see, Bhuta Pishachas are created. So as far as Puranas etc. are concerned, there are Bhuta Pishachas which exist. We in our modern thinking, we say, oh, where is ghost? Who has seen ghost? There's nothing called ghost. In general, one may say that so that, people don't live in unnecessarily fear. Or people don't give excuse, oh, somebody is, like many people give excuse that somebody is doing black magic on me, and, some bhuta has been sent behind me, and that's why, I am behaving some weird way. The human being anyway wants to give excuse and not take responsibility for one's action. So human being goes on finding some or the other cause to blame. So this Bhuta Pishach also becomes one more cause. So in general context, we may say that no, there is nothing called Bhuta Pishach, etc. But those beings exist. No, but we have not seen them. You need that psychic vision to see, that's all. They are there. Just like we need specific types of glasses to see certain types of, laser beams which are hidden in security, etc. Sometimes they use that. No, so then you need specific type of glasses to see, oh, these are the laser rays, because otherwise if you touch, you will get burnt. So like that, there are Bhuta Pishachas, and there are people who have that psychic capabilities. They communicate also with Bhuta Pishacha, etc. So Purana is saying Bhuta Pishach were created out of sloth. And when he saw them stand naked with their hair disheveled, this form of yawning that Brahmaji did out of his laziness, lethargy, these Bhuta Pishachas took that body, which was thrown up by Brahmaji. And it is said here that it is also known as sleep, which causes the mouth, etc. of living beings to eject running saliva. And these very Bhutas and Pishachas attack men who are rendered impure in this way, and such attack of theirs is spoken as insanity. So people go mad when Bhuta Pishacha attack happens. But whom will they attack? They will attack those people who are of weak mind, who become victims of laziness, lethargy, who don't do their Purushartha. The symbolic meaning is this, that they start imagining all kinds of reasons for their failure, or for their sadness, or for their inability to achieve anything. They cook up excuses. Such weak minds will be possessed by Bhuta Pishach. That's what it means. Bhuta Pishach cannot affect any strong person. Bhuta Pishach will not affect a person who is steadfast in one's sadhana and has the, has the abidance in devotion, in bhakti, in the name of the Lord. It is weak minds who will get affected by this bhuta pishach. Their mind, which is full of laziness, lethargy, which doesn't even have the basic dynamism of rajoguna to act and achieve anything, such weak minds as though will get affected by this bhuta pishach. Because bhuta pishach also are lower forms of beings. They are not some beings with great power. They appear to have more power than the human beings because they are disembodied beings. They don't have physical body. They are in a subtler state. But they are also tormented. They also have desires. They also have unfulfilled desires. They also go through a lot of trouble. And they will catch people who are weak-minded. Just like all this, whatever we see in the world, virus and bacteria and germs and all of that. If one's immunity is strong, one will not get affected by it. If it is weak, then one will fall sick. Something like that. So that's why it is said here that Nidra Mindriya Vikledo Yaya Bhuteshu Drishyate. So the weak minds which go through this Bhuta Pishach as though are possessing them. Then Urjasvantam Manyamana Atmanam Bhagavan Ajaha Sadhyan Ganan Pitruganan Parokshena Srijat Prabhu. 42. So now recognize, so one part is Tamoguna part, which created the Yaksha, Rakshasa, and then the Asura, and then this Bhuta, Preta. Then the Sattva-guna part created the Devatas also. Now here he says, Urjasvantam Manyamana, recognizing or invoking that vigor and energy, Brahmaji evolved out of his invisible form the host of Sadhyas and Pitrus. So these Sadhyas and Pitrus, they took possession of that invisible body, because here it said here that Sadhyan Ganan Pitruganan Parokshena Srijat Prabhu Sa Atma Sargam Tam Kayam Pitara Pratipedire Sadhyebhyascha Pitrubhyascha Kavayo Yad Pitanvate. See, the Pitrus, they are not visible to the physical eyes. They are in the subtler state. But these Pitrus and Sadhyas, they receive the offerings made by their successive generations. And that's why the Shraddha Paksha, when we observe, when we do the rituals of Shraddha and we do the Tarpan, we do Dan, those things, those offerings will go to the Pitrus bless the succeeding generations. So that's why he says it is through the medium of invisible body of the Pitrus that those well-versed in the ritual offer oblations to the Sadhyas and the Pitrus. So they do these rituals for them in the form of the departed ancestors on the occasion of Shraddha, etc. So even the Sadhyas and the Pitrus are there, who are a form of celestial beings. And so one has this holistic view of creation. When people say, what is your world view? We should also understand that Vedanta doesn't speak about only world view. Vedanta speaks about universe, cosmic view actually. Nobody else speaks about cosmic view. Many other cultures in the past have spoken about it, but all those cultures have got destroyed. See, even Greeks, Romans, they all believed in Devatas. They have their name for their own gods also. Like we have Indra, Varuna, Vayu, etc. They also have their own names. Like Zeus is supposed to be one god. No, like that. Each one has their own understanding of the subtler beings. And now those cultures were called pagan cultures and so many cultures across the world were branded as pagan and destroyed. And Hindu culture is also called pagan by so many of these other people who think that their culture only is the best. And they want their culture only to thrive everywhere and destroy all the pagans. And they think it is their dharma to destroy pagans. So the Hindu view is a very broad cosmic view of whole creation itself, where there is hierarchy and there are so many different types of beings who are there, and we coexist. There is no question of only what I see is real. That is stupidity, because what we see is very limited by our own senses and our own mind. There is so many more things which are there in creation which are not perceptible to our senses, to our mind, but there are methods by which one can experience these things. And now one very strange thing happens. You see, there are our own people who will say, no, I don't believe in all this. What devatas and pitrus and this and that. Then after some time they'll believe in what, you have a spiritual angel. Who is your angel? And that your angel is always there to guide you. And your angel will come when you sit and you pray to your angel, and you should input your birth date, and then that particular person will tell you this is the name of your angel, and then you should close your eyes and invoke and keep your room door open so that the angel can come inside. All that they will believe. Devatas they won't want to believe. Angel they will believe. Every person has a spiritual angel or a guide who will help you to achieve your life's goals, who help you to achieve your desires. That's where it is now. One doesn't want to study the Shastra and understand some of these, but these other terminologies which sound very appealing, one is going after them, and one is invoking also all these angels and all that. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but I'm just saying that if one is, saying there's nothing like Devatas and Gandharvas and Yaksha, Kinnara, Pitrus, and there is nothing like that, then nothing like angels also should exist. Because you can't see them in the physical form. Then where are they? No, they are there in the subtler realm. So that, what is the subtler realm? This is what is Vedanta is also talking, no? So this is a broad cosmic view, that there are different types of beings in different levels of consciousness, higher than human, lower than human. All of them exist. And that is the creation that is created. And each one's actions will influence the other. And especially in that human being. So that is what is going to come now. That human being has that special ability of the buddhi and self-awareness, by which the actions of human being can help not only human being, but even devatas, etc. depend on the yajna offering of the human beings. All of them, Yaksha, Kinnara, Gandharva, all of them depend on human beings and their offerings to help them, apart from whatever their karma is. But when they are in those yonis, this offering of human beings will help them, and they will in turn help human beings. Even in the Gita, Bhagavan says that or not. Devan bhavayata nena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayanta shreya param avapsyatha. You do the offerings and that will please the devatas, and those devatas will further bless you with rain and many other things that you desire, and mutually that way helping each other attain the best. So that is the harmony that Hindu culture speaks about, not only harmony in the life on earth, harmony in the entire creation and the connection between all. Because today one is in a human form, tomorrow one may become a devata or a gandharva or an asura or a yaksha, vidyadhara, kinnara, any, based on one's own karma. Just like people fight today for the rights of the third gender, one should fight actually for the right of all these subtler beings, because they are not being accepted by the society. Offerings are not being made. They are going through difficulties. but that we don't know only because our vision is very gross. Vedanta says, and Vedas very clearly say that one of the reasons why rains don't come properly on time, or they come untimely and they destroy the crop, etc. One of the reasons Veda says is that the yajnas are not being done, ahutis are not being offered, devtas are not being taken care of. Now, how much to believe and not to believe, that is up to the individual. But Veda says those who have Shraddha in the Veda, they believe, and some of them they still do yajnas, yagas, etc. as much as they are able to do as per the injunctions of the Veda, they are doing because they have Shraddha in the Shastra. And one finds the impact around. One research is being done on Mahamrityunjay Mantra. I will share that video on this WhatsApp, on the Telegram group of ours. 20 people who are going through diseases are segregated. Another 20 people who are going through diseases are being segregated. To one group, there is no chanting, nothing being done for them. For the other group, it is not that they are chanting. Those patients have been told to take the sankalpa. So once a sankalpa was taken by those patients, and the pandits are chanting 13 kilometers away. And this research is done by, it is being done now, 1.5 years over, another 1.5 years to go, it seems. And is done in Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital, and ICMR has also funded this research, it seems. And they are seeing the results. 18 out of those 20 for whom the mantra chanting was done have recovered. So the Mrityunjay mantra, when we say we chant for the well-being of others, it will help them. The results are being seen today with whatever technology available. One is doing the research and coming to certain conclusions. The parameters being same for both the groups. Extra thing is only the chanting which is happening for this group, and these people have taken sankalpa, and they also have a shraddha that these people are chanting for us. How it has an impact on their health and recovery is amazing. So one who has Shraddha will do. So these subtler beings are created one by one. So then he says he created specific beings called Siddhas and Vidyadharas and gave them the marvelous form of his called Antardhan, meaning they are not visible at all to the eyes. See, these Siddhas, Charanas, some of these beings, they help the jiva in the sadhana also. They guide the jiva in what sadhana to do, how to do, which are the steps, intuitively also they guide the jiva. We may not even understand, but we will get the guidance. We will get the signals. Either signals may come from outside, or we may find it intuitively. Certain inspiration will come, now do this type of sadhana for this much duration. So they are different class of beings called Siddhas. So that is what it is. So these Siddhas and Vidyadharas are created. Then Brahmaji saw his own reflection in water, and admiring himself through that, evolved Kim Purushas as well as Kinnaras out of that very reflection. They took possession of that shadowy form which was left by Brahma, and that's why they sing his praises by recounting his exploits at daybreak every morning with their spouses. So those are special types of beings, Kim Purushas and Kinnaras. Now it is said, Dehe navai bhogavata shayano bahuchintaya sarge nupachite krodhat utsasarjaha tadvapuhu. So once it is said, Brahmaji lay with his body stretched full length, and he was concerned over the fact that the work of creation had not proceeded at a particular pace, and he was in a very angry mood, and he dropped that bhav sharir also. what happened? The hair that dropped from that Bhav Sharir transformed into snakes, and the body that crawled from there sprang up the ferocious serpents and nagas with their necks dilated in the form of the hood. So these are the lower yonis, Naga Yoni and all this, So the Nagas are supposed to be, so what is the difference between snake and Naga? Snake is a full snake. Naga, some of them will have human head and the body of a serpent. So that is called Naga Yoni. So the Asuras, the Naga Yoni, etc., they are lower. If you remember in Mahabharata, Bhim, when he goes into the, he is poisoned and thrown into the river by this Duryodhan. Then this Bhim is, he's bit by a lot of snakes and the poison gets neutralized, and then he goes into Nagaloka. And there he marries one Nagakanya also, and then it is that king of the Nagas who gives him the strength of 10,000 elephants. Gives him something to drink and he gets the strength of 10,000 elephants, Bhim. So the Nagaloka is supposed to be the lower realm. Now all this happened, and then what happened? Sa atmanam manyamanaha krita krityamivatma bhuhu tada manun sasarjante manasaloka bhavanan tebhya sotyasrajat swiyam puram purushamatmavan tandrishtva ye purasrashtaha prashashamsu prajapatim. So Brahmaji felt that his object of life is still not accomplished, and he evolved out of his mind the Manu, who would promote the welfare of the world, and he gave the human form to them. So the human form as though is created by Brahmaji in his mind, and that form, that body is dropped and that body is taken up by Manu. So Manu is supposed to be the first human. Manu and Shatrupa are created by Manu here, that's the indication, Shatrupa also, because earlier it had come, Manu and Shatrupa. So human being and, is interesting. Human being is supposed to be from Manu and Shatrupa. So human being has both the quality. Manu means Manana Shilavan, one who is reflective, who uses logic, who thinks objectively. That's the quality of the intellect. And Shatrupa is Shraddha Rupa, who has faith, again the quality of the intellect. So both these are special capabilities of human being, Shraddha and logic. So logic for living here in the world and to deal with the world what we see, and Shraddha for those things which we are not able to perceive and see. So if we have evolved from Manu and Shatrupa, then we have these capabilities of Shraddha and of Vivek, and both these we should use. Of course, in Vedanta we say both these are required because they are part of the Sadhan Chatushtay. Vivek, Vairagya, in Shatka Sampatti, Shraddha is one quality, and Mumukshutvam. So both are required to realize the self. Even a Bhakta will require Shraddha and Vivek. Karma Yogi also requires, everyone requires. Shraddha and Vivek is required by all. So now when this human form was given, all these celestial beings, the Devatas, Gandharvas, etc., they applauded Brahmaji. Why? Because they said that we are glad that what you have finally made, this human being, because they will perform the rites and rituals which will take care of the divine beings. And so they say here, since all rites, all ritual acts, such as pouring oblations into the sacrificial fire, have been placed on a sound footing in this human form, we shall all share the sacrificial oblations with it. So that's the point. Now just think about it. The fulcrum of this entire creation is human being. He is the center. 7 higher worlds, 7 lower worlds are also from Bhuloka, and in Bhuloka it is called the Karma Yoni for human being. For every other creature, Bhuloka also is Bhoga Yoni only. Bhuloka is a Bhoga Bhumi. For human being, it is Karma Bhumi. Because here, through one's actions, one can realize the divinity, or through one's action, one can go to Swarga, or one can go to higher worlds, or go to Brahma Loka, or go to lower worlds. That choice is with human being. And when the Srishti was created, Devatas rejoiced because the human being will do the duty, because the karma adhikara is there in human being to do the offerings into the fire. Devatas etc. cannot do that. Only human beings can do that. The karma, especially the yajna, yaga, etc. And even in that, it is the grahasti who can do that. That is another important part. Certain rites rituals cannot be done by any other ashramite except grahasti. Like if Ashwamegha Yajna has to be done, grahasti only can do. Vanaprasthi, Brahmachari, Sannyasi cannot do. And there also, in the grahasti also, a person who is married only can do. Of course, that person only is called grahasti, but the importance of the wife, that the wife has to be there with the husband to do that ritual. Otherwise, that ritual is not complete. It will not give the desired result. So that's how Manu, Shatrupa, and then human being, and then the human being's capability to do all this, and through that sustain the whole creation. Look at the responsibility of a human being. That is from the view of the Puranas. And look at what is our view of our life. Oh, it's my life, my rules. I will do what I want. Other day I was seeing some reel. Nowadays the reels are very popular. So in that reel, one young girl had written, on her status, my life, my rules. So the friend asked that girl, come, let's go to see a movie. He says, no, I can't come. My father is not allowing me. My life, my rules, but father is not allowing me. I can't go to this movie. So we are living like that, my life, my rules, not understanding that what is our responsibility as a human being. We are the crux center in the whole scheme of creation and evolution. We are the center. And so many things are in our hands. And it is not that we will be human always. So once a human, not always a human. So then what happens? Tomorrow we may become Devata or a Gandharva or anybody, and then we will wonder, Arey, this human being, this fellow is not doing Yajna, Yaga, is not living properly. I'm not getting Ahuti. I am suffering because of this fellow here. I'm just joking in that sense. But what I'm saying is that is what will happen. That we will go to some different yoni after this human body, depending on our karma. And then one will wonder, Arey, I missed the opportunity. I should have done as a human being. I didn't do. So this is the view that human being is in the center, and they all are very happy with that. Then finally, Brahmaji, equipping himself with austere penance, adoration, yoga, tapasa, vidyaya yukto, yogena, susamadhina, rishi, nrishir, rishikeshaha, sasarjabhimata prajaha. So this tapas, then worship, then yoga and samadhi, accompanied by dispassion, etc., and having controlled the senses, what did Brahmaji do? He evolved the rishis, those 10 rishis, those Naradji and Marichi and so many others. He evolved the rishis, even Sapta rishis, and his beloved sons. To each of these, the unborn creator gave a part of his own body, which was characterized by deep meditation, concentration of mind, supernatural power, austerity, adoration, and dispassion. So these are the sattvic, highly sattvic qualities which help the seeker to evolve. And these rishis, etc., they guide. Just like Siddhas, they guide, the rishis also guide. No, Swamiji, when do they guide? Whenever we chant a mantra, we are supposed to remember the rishi. Suppose we chant Omkar. So before chanting Omkar, we have to remember Brahmaji. Omkarasya Brahma Rishihi Gayatri Chandaha. We are supposed to remember. Then chant Omkar when we do the japa. Same way, Om Namah Shivaya. We are supposed to remember Vasishta Vamadeva Kahola Rishihi or Gayatri Mantra Vishwamitra Rishihi. So we are supposed to remember the Rishi. It's not just remembering, lip service saying, oh, this person is the Rishi. No, one is supposed to feel that, the grace of the Rishi, may it come to me and may my sadhana be done steadily. So this is one part of the creation now. Now further will come the story, this famous portion of Bhagavatam, which is Kapil Gita. So Kapil Muni's avatar, how it happens. If you remember in the first canto, it came different avatars which are there. In that, Kapil Muni is one avatar of Bhagavan Vishnu. So not in the Dashavatar, in the earlier list of some 24 avatars which were given, Kapil Muni is one. So this Kapil Muni's avatar and Kapil Gita, etc. will come now. So that we take up in our next class. Any questions? So we will do the Arati.
मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल कांति हसनी दसगन की, मंगल मुरली बीना धुन की, मंगल आरती। मंगल बणिक त्रिभंगी हरि की, मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की, मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की, मंगल छवि नयन में अटकी, मंगल आरती। कभी अंग अंग की, मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की, मंगल अति कटि पियरे पट की, मंगल चितमणि नागर नट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की, मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की, मंगल वृंदावन मद अटकी, मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की, मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की, मंगल जुगल प्रिया बावन की, मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की, मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल आरती। मंगल आरती। राधा कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम्, नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयम् अग्निः, तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं, तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
Vipaji, unmute. I'm sending you the invitation. I've sent you that thing to unmute, but
Yeah, Swamiji, in verse number 7, they have used the word Ugra Shrava for Sutaji.
yeah.
So, is that a name for him or does it mean something? What does
No,
it?
that's the name for him.
Okay.
Ugrashrava is one of his names. Seventh one, na? Yeah.
It's saying Ugra Shrava Sutaji ne Bhagwan mein
Yeah,
चिट्ठी डाला उनसे कहा. So I thought Ugra Shrava probably is some adjective or something,
No. It's one more name, not adjective.
Okay, and in verse number 48, he says, उससे जो बाल झड़कर गिरे वे अही हुए. Ahi.
Ahi is snake.
Ahi means snake, is
Snake.
it?
Snake.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So snake and sarp are different because he has used sarp and nag later and then he has used ahi. But there are 3 categories or there are 2 categories?
No, 2 categories. Snake is one which is only, like I said, it is only the full body of a snake. Naga is so snake and sarpa should be equal actually. Then the naga is supposed to be the one which has the face or the head of a human being and the body of a snake. So here in the English translation is given as ferocious serpent and naga.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
So I have not deleted. So Rashmi just asked a question, have I deleted? No, the playlist of Bhagavatam is there on the YouTube channel. You have to go into the playlist section. You may not find it all the videos obviously on homepage. Go to the playlist section. There Srimad Bhagavatam playlist is there. Or on the homepage, if you see Bhakti texts, in that the playlist of Bhagavatam will be there. Go to view full playlist. You will see all the videos in sequence there. So it's there. Only today's talk I have forgotten to do live streaming, but otherwise all the talks done up till now, they are there on that. Today's talk now, after this I will upload it. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.